Zidek Life. Remember Zidek Life?
No.
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 Yes. I mean, no. No.
Of course you don't. That's why I'm here. I said I was going to bring a little bit more of variety content, original content for my lack of quantity in content, which is gonna be kind of impossible because you can't just pick up too much original material before you just run out of content. But still, I'll try once in a while. Once in a while, I'll try. Okay. So who the hell is Zidek Life? Well, stick around and find out. Because, my god, just when you think there's nothing else out there crazier, more insane, more unbelievable, there's something. So imagine you enter somebody's room and then the walls are plastered all over, including the rooftop, of little girls' pictures. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, those are my crushes. I'm gonna make that one my girlfriend eventually. She's my dream girlfriend, and she told me in a dream that she loves me, and she's the ideal woman for me." Okay. Huh. What would you do? But before I go any further than that, I want to make a little. By the way, can you hear the ASMR? A lot of sirens. It's always like that. It's crazy here. Oh my god. Anyways, let me put this on the table first because I'm gonna feel like a hypocrite if I don't. Allow me to be a little bit straightforward here. So what's the difference between somebody like him and somebody like me? Me personally, for example. Somebody who, for example, Instagram is pretty much the only social media platform that I actually use, and by I actually use, I mean I upload my work here eventually once every once in a while whenever I have something new to show, and I open it that day, like that moment, and then like every day I just check like 2 minutes a day or something to see the notifications, and then I close it immediately. I only scroll down like a little bit further below the scrolling thing, the newsfeed. Yeah, there you go. I even forgot about it. And the thing that I always find whenever I log in is like pictures of women that I follow, like their posts of like big booty titty women that I follow, and I'm like the worst follower you can have because I never interact. I never engage with anybody. I never like anything or whatever. I never pay attention. The first thing I see whenever I open Instagram is like an ass of some model that I clicked follow, and then if I happen to scroll down like with my finger like twice down, and I find a post of an actual friend or somebody, maybe if I accidentally stumble upon something, maybe I'll give it a like. But it's just basically because it's like the buddy like, you know how it is, and that's it. My main interest in Instagram is posting my work and just like trying it out there and finding like 2 minutes, like 1 minute, 2 minutes, or like two scrolls of like eye candy there of women that are completely out of my reach. These fantasy girls that are like absolutely like above my league. And I'm not being a red pill doomer or any bullshit like that. I'm not being detrimental to myself or anything. I'm just being realistic. I don't like that. I don't like people that just like talking too despectively about themselves. I'm like, yeah, shut the fuck up. But anyways, it's like they're too far away from me physically, and even if they were like close to me or whatever, it's like it's two different like leagues, That's not even considering the fact that one thing is liking somebody physically, another thing is that person not really being in like your same like channel, you know what I mean? I've met a shitload of different kinds of women over my life. I'm not that old, but I've met a lot of different people over my life. Because my hometown is a cesspool of everything. If you're willing to be open-minded about meeting people, you can meet every type of person you can imagine. And me, having been an artist who circulated a lot in the city helped a lot. My career fused with my human nature curiosity instincts just opened me a hugely wide world. Be open-minded and not judgmental at first. You can make judgments later. Just be receptive at first. Just be respectful. Agree to disagree. Be unbiased and bold. Put yourself aside and listen, and later form your opinion, and your world will just expand. Holy shit. So, usually girls like that are not the most likable. I found out the kind of women that I like to hang around with, and usually, sadly, girls like that are not in that department. But that's another story. I'm being hyperbolic here. Some women that look like that are cool, some are not, whatever. Doesn't matter. What I mean is that if somebody is doing you a favor by being with you, don't chase that person. You don't need that person. Stay away. Never look for the person who thinks they're too good for you. That person doesn't need you anyways. If they have the idea that they're too good for you, they're gonna find somebody else better than you, and they're gonna dispose of you. And you may latch on to somebody because you're way too attracted to them to let go. A quote-unquote high value type of girl like this is gonna come with a lot of baggage that you're not seeing, that made her the way she is right now. You need a very specific type of person to become that specific type of Stacy that is gonna think it's too good for you. And they're gonna make you deal with a lot of shit that is gonna make you consider if maybe on second thought that hotness, after all the crap that you have to deal with, is maybe not hot enough. That attractiveness is suddenly not as attractive, and maybe you're better off with somebody you can just be with. You can just like and be with. And maybe I'm not talking by experience at all. No. I've never had to be that kind of loser who had to go through something like that at all. And like a friend told me that it happened to him once many years ago. Yeah. Not anecdotal at all. No. Anyways, I'm being too hyperbolic here. Not every hottie out there. Hold on, wait. Yeah, because this applies to everybody. Not every hottie out there is gonna assume they're way too good for you. It's just that they are gonna be looking for something excruciatingly specific that you most likely don't have. The range of needs that they have from somebody is way more narrow than the average person. It's more strict and narrow. And let's face it, let's just be real. Face it, whatever weird, really demanding thing that they are looking for, you probably don't have it. Whatever, that's another thing. The point that I was trying to make is that what makes me better than him? What gives me any right to talk about somebody like him if I also have this because, for example, I'm also objectifying women that I have no business with. Because if you want to admit it or not, whenever you have some kind of celebrity crush or some distant crush, consciously or unconsciously, you're making them into an object of your fantasies. From a singer to an actor, model, porn star, whatever, anything like that. If you admire them beyond what they do, you have some kind of attraction to them, that means that at least they are a sexual fantasy of yours. You have nothing to do with them, you don't know them, you never will, so they're an object of gratification to you. You have no real business having any kind of sexual desires for somebody else you have nothing to do with. And then there I am, perfectly aware of that, and I still do it. I'm just trying to say, I don't have this big moral high ground or anything like that. I'm trying to make it very clear. I can easily be judged too, and it's potentially unhealthy, and that can be easily very creepy too. Oh yeah, and then it all sums up to me taking a screenshot that I'm gonna carry in my phone. What gives me the moral ground to criticize somebody like him who has his impossible crushes, right? His distance crushes. and like he revolves his whole life around that. He fantasizes and obsesses over that. What makes me have any kind of like moral ground against that if I also have this like Instagram sort of like crushes, you might say. They're not real crushes. I like them, but they're not my crush. But I take like a screenshot of one that I like, and then I carry it in my phone, in the background of my phone. And I mean, I honestly don't care really. I mean, they're also, I mean, being honest, they're also like my fantasy, my sexual fantasies, you know? And that's very similar. You have to be honest. That's very similar. I mean, aside from the very easy low blow of just saying that, you know, the girls that I like are of age. I mean, not even counting that. I can also say, well, I don't really obsess over anybody aside from like what they post online publicly and then forget about it. They're not really somebody I look forward to interacting aside from taking my next desktop picture. But I can say whatever I want in my defense anyways. Like, what's stopping me? Aside from that, I'm not gonna say anything else. I'm gonna let people judge uh, the whole thing. If I say anything more than that, I feel that I'm gonna sound like I'm just like preaching and trying to say that I have some kind of cheap moral high ground that you see a lot of people online take, especially take nowadays. It's extremely easy to do that, and I don't like when people do that. Oh yeah, and also I'm an illustrator, and part of the work that I do is that I have a comic starring mainly little girls, young girls, underage girls. So yeah, there's that. Underage girls, not forever though. I'm just saying they're not gonna be the only focus of the story forever though, but I'm just saying I needed to say it in order to feel free to move forward. So there you go. There's that too. I feel better now. Taking weight off your shoulders is like, you know, it feels better. You feel lighter. So with that out of the way, we can just move on now and actually get to the meat of the plate. Cause oh my god, for simplicity's sake, as an introduction, I'm gonna use a lot of this guy's video because he has a friend who is a psychologist, and they talked about a lot of points that I would have talked about anyways. But since that guy is an actual psychologist, I'm gonna use his points to illustrate the whole picture here. Because with characters like this, you honestly need a lot of opinions from people who have studied more the subject in more in depth than you know. That's something that I always like to do. So we're gonna use a lot of this information. And then we can elaborate more in the future with more personal opinions. Zidek is a self-proclaimed artist, graffiti artist, dancer, YouTuber, and Gibby fanatic. Not that Gibby, some other Gibby. That Gibby. He's still, I think, 25 years old. I think he's 25 years old still to this point. I don't know. And the reason that makes us all gather around here, it's not anything from his career or whatever. His career is a pretty run-of-the-mill type of thing. Like really, nothing too stand-up-y. No, it's... Oh wait, as soon as I started recording this, I opened my laptop to check YouTube to see what the things that I was going to look for. And I typed Zidek live, and I find a video that he just uploaded 6 hours ago that has no view. Am I going to be the first one? I might check it. It's only 3 minutes long. This is fate. It's destiny. I needed to do this. Matter of fact, let's improvise here. Let's see. Nothing really. Super whatever. It's just him like doing Buen Fin purchases. For context, Buen Fin, it's Mexican Black Friday. It sucks. It's not as good as Black Friday. There's nothing really, anything that worth it or anything like that. The prices, I mean, they're not really that great or anything like that. It's him fooling around in a store, not finding anything, with his sister. I've never seen his sister. He seems to. That's very interesting. He seems to have a pretty good relationship with his family, I think. You see his sister there. They're cool with each other. They hang around. Okay, fine. I don't know his family dynamic. It's very interesting, very strange because he's very infamous and everybody knows about his thing, the thing that we're going to see. He's looks like a pretty mundane like guy. For the most part he is. He is painfully mundane aside from one thing. That is the thing that I'm surprised his family is kind of cool about it. I don't know if they like just got used to it. They didn't know how to deal with it, so they just like embraced it. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to mess with his family or anything like that. That feels not cool. Feels nasty. Even though they seem to have been just like facilitating this since forever. So here's the thing that I find morbidly fascinating about, especially his family being like so cool about it. I don't think my family would have been that cool with me if I was just obsessed with 12-year-olds and had like pictures of them plastered all over my room and made my public figure circulate all about that and having like weirdly sexual dreams about him or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, Mexico is a very different culture from like United States and Canada. Latin American culture is very different. It's more common for people to get married younger and to start families younger, to have more kids, stuff like that, than, for example, in like English speaking countries or most of Europe. But still, don't get me wrong, he's very heavily criticized. He has, as he calls it with pride, a lot of haters that just like go all out against him and he doesn't care. That's one of the differences that he has in comparison to the rest of lolcows. He doesn't really care. He shrugs it off. I used to think he was he may be autistic. He's not. He is perfectly lucid. What he has is a personality thing. Zidek has a predilection for women. He likes women pure, pretty, submissive, and innocent. He likes them young too, very young, like 10 to 12, and he boasts about it all over the place. His fantasies are to actually get to meet these girls, and he actually tries. That's the thing, he actually tries. He's openly in love with this little YouTuber thing, which is another thing. I don't agree with making children celebrities. That's another kind of worms. That's not the subject here. Um, he's openly in love with her, particularly, and he actually has tried to get as close to her as possible. He went to a concert and he fantasizes about her where they are like a couple, and he dreams about that all the time and he shares that with the internet. He reminds me a lot of Daniel Larson, if Daniel Larson was like able-minded. So for this video, as an introduction, we're going to dive into his obsession with the girls that he likes, especially Gibby right now. I wonder how he's going to feel like when she grows up. That's another thing. And the points that an actual psychologist makes, which is, I think, it's very important because I feel that can validate my own opinions about it, and even see that this is why these things are important, and even see things that I wasn't considering, that most of us, whenever we're looking at people like this, don't consider, because you don't have all of the information, right? So sometimes you can have like eye openers whenever you talk to somebody like an actual psychologist, and open a whole new kind of worms, and just like learn a lot and expand your own viewpoints. I mean, look at his room. His room is like, I know I shouldn't say I have my room cluttered with junk, and then I get tired, and then I do a huge cleanup. But it's like whenever you see in movies, like your typical serial killer, your typical sicko, and they have like that. Even happened in Seinfeld, right? What was his name? What was his name? Oh my God, what's his name? Oh my God, what was his name? Jesus Christ. Wait. Crazy Joe Dabola. When he had that picture, a wall, when he invites Elaine to his room, and he has like his shrine, the pictures of her, like that he has been taking even like pictures of her in the shower, spying her, and she's just like, what the fuck? You always see that in movies, and you don't think that that's actually real. But then you have this guy here, and he's like, all of it is, it's cluttered with pictures of this girl and other girls that he likes or he has liked or his life. I mean, you see pictures of guys, especially before, like in the 90s and early 2000s. I don't know how much that happens. I remember, like, I almost got in trouble once because I used to have my walls full of posters, like video game posters, and I had this poster of Joanna Dark. This one poster with like a live action Joanna Dark. It wasn't even that lewd or anything. It was just like this girl dressed up all in leather, and my mom got like scandalized. And my sister had to come to my defense and be like, so, I mean, you want him to have like posters full of like violent imagery from all those games and cartoons and whatever stuff that he likes? Or you want him to have a picture of a girl there that's not even that obscene or anything like that? I'm gonna look online to see if I can find the actual poster. And my mom was like, okay. She was like, it's just a poster of like, there's nothing wrong with it. My sisters used to have posters of like the men that they liked all over the walls. And then when they were younger, that the celebrity crushes that they had. And I remember like one of my cousins, yeah, had like huge posters of like bikini girls, stuff like that. So he has that, but potentiated like tenfold, even on the rooftop, everywhere. But plot twist, there's all 12-year-olds. And he has a Lola. What's the name of those dolls? He has a doll. He pretends that it's her. It's like, whoa. So before we keep going, sorry, what's your name? Brin, for copying your video. Pretty much the thing is, it's for the psychologist. That's why I'm using pretty much your video. I had a different plan for this, but since you already have this a psychologist, I have psychologist friends, but things that just don't work out for them to be in this channel. So sorry, man. There's very interesting pinpoints they make in this video. And one of the first ones is a dream that he had with this girl that was in some chef competition. She was like little girl, a little girl that was in this chef competition in Latin America. I don't know where she is. Probably some Latin. I don't know, somewhere. I don't know if she's from Mexico, the little girl, or the rest of Latin America. I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about the girl. He is extremely attracted to her, and he had a dream about her, and in that dream, she was okay with being a couple with him, and she kissed him. So the point here in this segment is that he has a dream, and he immediately wakes up, and you immediately hear all the ASMR in the background. Do you hear it? I can't do anything about it, sorry. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so he wakes up, right? And he immediately goes and tell his family, his sister and his parents, all about it. So they seem to be used to that. It's just, that's the thing, right? You have like wet dreams of like somebody that you like, and you go and you just nonchalantly go tell your parents and your sister. That tells me something that I'm gonna say at the end. But let's listen to the psychologist, because he mentions something very interesting. So it's the psychologist saying it, that he seems to have antisocial personality disorder. In the video, he mentions that at the end, he like very cynically says that to comment if they like the girl, if he should marry the girl, or if he should go to jail. It's like, he's very cynical about it. So he seems to have some kind of disorder, right? It's not clear what, but he's clearly not right. It's not autism. is not a psychopath, and he seems to have antisocial personality disorder. He doesn't care. He's very aware of himself, and he doesn't care. That throws autism off the window. And I can complement this with another little trivia that I found in another one of his videos, where he mentions being a very sickly little boy when he was growing up, and then his parents were really protective of him. He seemed to have become like the center of attention when he was growing up, and he was probably very demanding. He probably became very self-centered because of that. And then later on, he grew up to be kind of entitled and very cynical. And he seems to have learned to develop the taste to dominate people, to dominate the will of people, and that ended up leading him to what you see today. But that's, as I said, that's a little piece of trivia that I found on another one of his videos. That's just my opinion. The psychologist said possible antisocial personality disorder. I mean, the fact that he is so open about all of this really socially reproachable stuff with his family, and they don't say anything about it. They're completely cool about it. It tells you a lot that he likes to dominate people to a point of kind of breakage until they just roll with it. And that's the scary thing, but that's for later.
Porque si él lo dice tan normal, que se lo dice a su hermana, que se lo dice a sus papás y que ninguno le diga nada, o bueno, al menos que él no cuente en sus videos que le dicen algo, puede que su familia no le está prestando atención o simplemente son padres que están pero son ausentes. Y lo otro, aparte de esto, es que Irving posee algunas características de trastorno de personalidad antisocial. Porque si lo escuchas...
So he also had a dream about this other girl that he knew in real life. And he said that he was almost about to date her and whatever, and that in his dream this girl kissed with Gibby, the girl that he actually likes. He's like his love. And in his dream he was just like watching there, just enjoying the view. You can imagine it. I'll let you picture the image there. But this is the most important opinion, I think, of this whole video. The pedophile thing, right? So the psychologist here mentions a manual, right? DSM-5. I don't know the English name of that. I don't know if they call it differently in other languages or whatever. That's the manual that psychologists use to diagnose things like this, like pedophilia. In this manual, you need to cover at least 2 criteria from 5 that they have in the last 6 months in order to be diagnosed as a pedophile. So by that is that if you have like fantasies like that over the period of 6 months, you are a strong candidate for that. It doesn't mean that you are. This is the important thing, because I feel that accusation, pedophilia, it's such an over... I don't like to just like throw that to people here and there. I don't like it when people do that, because you decrease the meaning of those things. It's like racism, misogyny, sexism, the works, all those terms. People utilize them so much, so easily, that they lose the meaning. And whenever you actually encounter somebody who is actually those things, it can be easily shrugged up as just like being an empty accusation. That's what I don't like. So he seems to cover at least 2 of those 5 criteria, and he fantasizes about that for way over 6 months. It's years. According to the way he behaves, schizophrenia, it's out of the window also, because he's very eloquent, he's very aware, he's very self-aware, he's extremely self-aware, in difference to every lolcow that you can imagine. He is extremely self-aware, and he actually utilizes his infamy in his favor. He's aware of reality, he's aware of his surroundings, he's aware of everything, and he bounces all of the criticism off of him. He's like what Cyrex and Christian and White Bowser and all those guys. He's what all of those guys wish they could be, right? Just like not care and actually capitalize on their infamy. He does that, and he's painfully cynical about it, which is actually the scariest part. When you are perfectly aware of how wrong something is that you're doing, but you do it anyways, and you rub it on people's faces. The world is full of people like that, and that's why we are in the situation that we are right now. It's a good thing that he doesn't have like a powerful position in society, because a lot of people do like him. A lot of people like him do, and well, that is why we are in the situation that we are in the moment. That is why Vanguard and Amazon and BlackRock and OpenAI and all these things just like march forward unopposed. Let's just leave it at that. So the last thing I'm gonna use here with the psychologist, he makes more points, but I don't want to just straight up like put the whole video here. But the last thing that I find that is important to listen to here of his opinions is that he's so cynical that he actually showed his diagnostic from when he was a little kid, when his parents took him to the psychologist. So you can see that he had issues when he was a little kid, and his parents were trying to do something about it. But he is so dominating, he is so manipulative, he has such a strong obsession of dominating, of dominion, that since a little kid he bended the will of his parents, and he tries to bend everything to his will. That's why he's so open with his predilections in his videos. That's why he does that, because he tries to bend the world to his will. He tries to rub it in your face so that you can accept it, and that's what I feel that it's so disturbing about him being obsessed with little girls. I have opinions of what makes the attraction of underage kids so reproachable. What makes it okay to like your same gender, to like furries, for example, to like this and to like that, and what makes those things be acceptable, and what makes pedophilia be unacceptable. Because you might say, well, it's unnatural, it's this and that, and I feel that it's kind of hypocrite to be like, well, it's okay to have like a kink for like furries, like animals. It's okay to like you saying gender, for example, but it's not okay to like somebody who is underage. And I feel that it's the right sentiment, but sometimes people don't understand why. And I feel that the reason why it's vulnerability. Aside from physical appearance, at the end of the day, as I said, what's the difference from somebody liking somebody that is like underage, 13 or something, 14, 15, to somebody who likes a creature that looks like a dog, or simply a man that likes another man? Those are things that could be considered anti-natural. But the difference, for example, from liking your same gender and to liking somebody underage and like animals, it's vulnerability. Your same gender is usually an adult, which is to each their own in that subject. It's like, okay, you both chose that, okay, fine. But when it comes to animals and kids, I feel that it's vulnerability, that thing that makes the whole thing gross. I honestly, I'm gonna piss off a lot of people, because I honestly view zoophilia, which is furry. A lot of people like to like downplay furry as like, oh, whatever, and I don't like that, because I find that it's almost as bad as pedophilia. Not as bad, because kids are people. I love animals, but for me, it's more important to firstly safeguard your own species and then worry about the others. And then the whole furry thing gets a pass, because since it's not as quickly and accessible to abuse an animal sexually like that, it's not the same. That whole spectrum of sexuality can float around in its own bubble of people just role-playing, which is fine. In my mind, whatever sick, gross, weird roleplay you have that just stays in its own realm of just roleplay and like fantasy, in my mind, there's no need to knock it because people need to release themselves somehow. If you don't let people release themselves somehow, that repressed energy is gonna erupt somehow. That it's most likely gonna be dangerous to them and to other people, probably. And the mind is really complex, and a lot of times you don't really have a full grasp of why you react one way or another, or why do you like certain things over others. So in my mind, it's very unhealthy to knock on that. It's like, okay, fantasize about your gross fantasies, draw about your gross fantasies, get your gross sex doll or sex toy or whatever, role play, okay, whatever it is that keeps you away from a potential actual victim. Remember, whatever kind of urge of any kind that you have that is detrimental, that is dangerous, especially to somebody else, something exterior from you, just keep it to yourself. There's a line of privacy that needs to be respected for you, and at the same time, there's a line that needs to be respected from you to everybody else. And if we can both agree in that, we can all live in peace. There's exceptions to maturity. I was way more mature than a lot of people that I've met, even to this day. When I was 12, 13, in a lot of aspects, but in several others, I was completely clueless. And that's the thing. The younger you are, from your own inexperience, the more vulnerable you are. And somebody willing to take advantage of that vulnerability in order to exploit it for their own benefits, it's somebody disgusting. Let's just leave it at that. Because they don't have the strength, the power to get with somebody their own size, in their own level. So they look for somebody weaker. And that's what makes it so reproachable. The physical appearance is associated with vulnerability, and that's what makes it disgusting. And I feel it's a right sentiment to have. It's just important to actually understand it in order to be able to defend yourself. Especially nowadays, where it's argued that you need to accept everything, no matter what, and you don't have to think about it. Out there, in the big leagues, let's just say, there's been attempts, and there will be attempts still, of making this also just as acceptable, making pedophilia as acceptable as everything LGBTQ, whatever, all of that. I personally find liking this, being into this, pretty much just as gross as being attracted to like an 8-year-old or something like that. Pretty much for the same reasons too. So it's important to understand how somebody is a predator, which is something dangerous and something that needs to be fought against, versus somebody who just like couldn't help a thought or something. Somebody who just had like a passing fixation or has like a borderline or something. Because we're not gonna get anywhere ever if we just never learn to not attack everything or to just allow everything to happen, you know? Should we just start accusing and sending to jail everybody, every dominatrix out there, any furry out there, anybody with a schoolgirl kink or a flat-chested kink or like skinny cute boys or anything like that? No. That is why it's very important to analyze nuances and tendencies. That is what makes the difference between borderline something and actual something. That is what makes a pervert different from somebody with a kink. And then you have the predator, who is the actually dangerous one. Let me give you an example. This video is probably controversial enough, so let me just go further in. Yeah, why not? Earl Doobie, I wouldn't consider him an actual pedo. Yeah, based on the things that I've known about him, I would not dare to consider him an actual pedo per se, but that doesn't save him at all, because he is still a consummated pervert, and most importantly, worse than anything else, he is a predator who doesn't mind, who doesn't care about preying on children still, as sort of, I don't know, collateral damage of his perversion. And a predator doesn't need to be a zoophile or a pedo or anything like that. They can be the most hetero or gay or whatever, but those it's the ones that go out of their way to hunt actual prey, to abuse and gratify themselves with unsuspecting or misled victims. Like, for example, what White Bowser and Cyrax does. Like, for example, what Chris did with Barb. It's the opposite of pedo, but at the same time is taking advantage of somebody so old and senile that they can't defend themselves anymore. Even though I don't really like Barb. But Chris became a predator now that he's older. He went from being kind of a creep, which is just like, okay, just, stay away and it's cool, to actually becoming a predator. It's complicated, isn't it? But it's interesting, isn't it? You see how things escalate? You're gonna hear me talk about that a lot here in my channel. How it's important to recognize things earlier on, because things always escalate. So that means that, for example, if being a pervert is not inherently condemning, it's something you need to recognize and learn how to handle yourself before it's necessary for exterior forces to handle it for you. Anyways, moving on. This is what rubs me the wrong way about Zidek, and this is what I really, really, really don't like about him. This is why I do this right now. He was diagnosed with defiant personality, and he gets really, really mad about not getting his way. He doesn't accept no. He doesn't accept things that are not his way in the moment that he wants it. He doesn't understand anything outside of his own person. And he talks about how everybody that contradicts him, he becomes aggressive and violent about it. He needs to bend everybody that he sees to his will at any means necessary. This is the dangerous thing about people like him. Just imagine if a little young girl says no to him. Just imagine what could happen. And imagine, you don't even have to imagine, you just see around you to realize what happens when people like him, with the actual power to do it, when they are confronted with no, when they are confronted to putting a stop to something that they want, they make the world the way we have it right now. Yeah, somebody not willing to listen, to reason, somebody not willing to consider other people. For me, that is irredeemable. It's one of those few flaws that I find completely reproachable. I'm willing to overlook a shitload of flaws that other people cannot, just because I know that nobody's really perfect. We're all incredibly flawed. So to point fingers so easily to others, I don't know. It doesn't really, I don't know, fly with me too much. But that is one of those few flaws that I find unforgiving. We all have to share this space with each other, and not being able to trust somebody, it's just, it's unforgivable. So I'm just gonna leave it with the final conclusions of the psychologist here. According to him, there's like a lot of other things that he may have. It's difficult to tell, but according to the psychologist, he can't be straight up considered a pedophile yet, but he covers most of the criteria for that. I would say he is, but a professional is not willing to just say that he is. And well, here's my final opinion. In one part, Zidek mentions that his age range for attraction to girls is from 12 to 25. And even though he says 25, the reasons why I consider him a pedo is because even though he can like girls that are older, he doesn't like womanly traits on women. He likes girly traits on women. He likes them not to wear makeup. He likes them innocent, tender. I would assume virgin. He never mentions that, not that I know of. But he, submissive, innocent. he likes all the traits of a little girl, of a little young girl, like a 10-year-old, something like that. And as I said, with what I find reproachable about pedophilia, more than the physical aspect of it, what I find is the key to it, it's vulnerability. For example, this is probably gonna be really controversial, but for example, this is because, but I'm gonna say this because this is cases that actually happen in real life. For example, what if two people met and one of those people has that condition, you know, the one, I don't remember the name, but that condition that makes you never age physically, that you look 10, 12, something like that, and the other person is 20 something. So, but the person that looks 10, 12 or whatever is actually 28, but they can't age physically. But they meet up and they fall in love with each other and they both want to be together. But are they not in right to be together? Like, maybe the person, what if the other person, the one that looks normal, what if that person doesn't like necessarily young girls, but is attracted to that one that looks like a little girl? Doesn't that person has a right to be with that person? You know, it's a that's a brainer, you know. But I would say they have a right to be together. If it might be gross to a lot of people, but I find that they have a right to be together, and I wouldn't judge them because there's no vulnerability there. What if this person with the condition doesn't dress up like a minor, doesn't behave like a minor? They just happen to have that condition. And for example, there's one thing that is inevitable, and I'm talking about this because there's records of these things happening actually, so that's why I'm bringing this up. There's I can't think of a single way to actually like completely clear the person who doesn't have the condition, you know, to not looking weird. I don't think there's a way. Sorry, I don't think there's a way. They're just gonna have to live with that stigma. But what about the person with the condition? Are those people just forced to live alone, forced to not have the right to be with anybody ever, just because of something they couldn't control and they never asked for? I feel that that's unfair. They have the right. They have the right to be with somebody they like and that is willing to be with them, you know? I don't know. That is why I separate the physical from the psychological, and that is why I make the judgment of why pedophilia is still wrong regardless, and why somebody like him is reproachable regardless of what I said about the physical. It's because he focuses on the vulnerable aspect of women. He wants somebody he can subdue, and he can have control over. He can have like absolute control over. He can dominate. Somebody that is completely vulnerable to his power, to him, and that's dangerous. That's what I don't like. Imagine if somebody you knew, somebody you cared for, got involved somehow with somebody like him. How would that feel? How would that make you feel? And with that, I have no idea how this video is going to do. I have no idea the opinion that people are going to have about this video, but I needed to do it, and I needed to be straightforward about it in order to feel comfortable doing it at all. I feel that I said things that are probably going to shake a lot of people up, and I feel that that's a good thing. I feel that people need to actually think deep about stuff, you know, and to actually consider stuff. And if you disagree with something that I said, I feel that that's even healthy. That's healthy for you to think and disagree with, and that's also healthy for me to have to consider other things that are not my own opinion. This video was a thinker, ain't it? I think that's it, right? Yeah, I might do a follow. I think I need to do a follow-up to this. Not too many. I hope I don't do too many of this because he actually loves that. He actually loves the attention. He actually loves people talking trash about him, and it makes him feel more empowered, more important. It gives him validation. So I'm gonna try to be more more sparingly with this. But yeah, I think that's it, right? I think. Okay, well, that's okay. Well, uh, yeah, yeah. Okay, just like bye.